All right.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers to episode 5.
My God. I don't know about you, man. Like I was telling you before, it has been a stressful ass day.
Bro. I don't know what to tell you. No. Sorry to hear that. But sounds like you use one of those.
There may be a point in this evening where I actually go back and get another. But dude, been a good week though.
That's good. That's good.
So
That's good.
yeah.
Yeah, for me, past couple weeks have been, I don't know, they haven't been crazy. I mean, we talked about last week I was sick.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get sick, it's always hard to do what you got to do, get your work done. You're always moving a lot slower than when you would anyhow.
It throws you off.
It totally throws you off. And also aside from that, I mean, that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about resistance, more or less. And, well, first of all, we'll talk about the topic, I suppose. Might as well now that we're into it.
Sure.
So when we say resistance, if a lot of you probably listening, you probably know of the book War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. Hopefully, maybe a lot of you don't, but that's okay. I highly recommend read that book if you are an artist, entrepreneur, launching some kind of creative empire of any kind, whatever that may be. The book is all about resistance and more importantly, how to combat resistance. And what is resistance? Resistance is that evil sort of, malignant force that lives inside of all of us that prevents us from doing our work. And it takes its form through whether that be procrastination or sex or looking hierarchically at things, being hard on yourself, paralyzing yourself, whatever that may be. In all those forms, that is resistance in a nutshell. And it's something that I know a lot about in personal experience.
You and me both.
Something
man.
that you know about for sure. So that's what we're going to be talking about. And something that we've especially faced in the past weeks, I think.
Yeah.
Let's start with you, I guess. So what does resistance usually look like for you? How does it take its form? And I don't know, you got any recent examples, I guess?
Well, for starters, dude, resistance starts, I think, for a lot of people, the second you get out of bed.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, I'm going to hit the snooze again. Here we go. In my case, I don't know. I think resistance and doubt kind of go hand in hand. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For me, resistance, I guess, is kind of similar to you. It's like, with my craft, which is guitar playing and singing, like I've said before. Sometimes I can sit down and, I have fun with it, but sometimes it's like, oh, I got to write this new part for a song in the studio, or I got to do, I got to meet this deadline or something. For me, it's always like, doubt comes into that. It's like, oh, well, can I do this well? Am I going to do as good with this as I think I am? You know what I mean? It's sort of like self-doubt kind of thing. And maybe I'm not explaining it the right way, but
no, doubt is definitely a big factor, a big example of resistance. It's one that I forgot to mention. Well, because doubt, like I said, I also said paralyzing, and doubt is, I think, the ultimate paralyzer, because if you're doubting yourself and you're doubting your capabilities, well, what's it doing? It's preventing you from actually doing the work.
right.
So that is a form of resistance.
Yeah.
And to doubt yourself is not only is it, like I said, not helping and not allowing you to make that progress and make those steps, but it's a disservice to you and your potential, more or less.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. How about for you though? Like I know you were kind of mentioning it before, but
Doubt is definitely one thing. You and I are super hard on ourselves, and we tend to lack our capabilities and I'm not lack our capabilities. I'm sorry. Doubt our capabilities. And yeah, so doubt is definitely a big thing. Super insecure, super, comparing myself to other people and thinking like, oh, my work isn't that good enough. So, who am I to step up? And probably the biggest though for me is procrastination.
oh, dude,
And
you can ask my mom all about that, girl.
distraction,
Yeah.
those are the two big ones. I think procrastinating and getting distracted. I just have the attention span of a squirrel.
Me too.
I hate, something comes up, and I've tried doing this recently though, where, just simple things where if you for you to do your work, you turn off your Wi-Fi, and I work from my bedroom. I take my phone, I throw it on my bed.
Yeah.
So that way I can't even hear it go off because, the phone vibrates and just like the blanket there. It's just, you can't even hear that because it's so soft,
Yeah. That's true.
So yeah. But even then, I mean, just like I like to look out the window a lot, and it's so nice out, and be like, oh, maybe I'll take a walk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I'll take another walk later too.
And the next one.
And the next one.
And the next day.
And the next day. So
Yeah.
that's definitely a big challenge. And what else? As far as procrastinating, I don't know if sometimes it's hard if you don't have set deadlines on certain things, and there aren't really any stakes. Because I'm still at a point in my business where there's stakes, but they're not as dire as, like, say, for instance, high-level, high-budget productions maybe, where it's like, oh, there's a lot of money involved. We need these deliverables by this day, by this date, rather. And not to mention those companies, too, they have probably multiple other projects that they're trying to run, too. So I'm not at that point. So therefore, it's like I can take my time. I can pace myself, which is a good thing. But that's where the procrastination, the resistance comes in, where I'm like,
It's like, oh, I have time.
I have time.
Yeah,
Maybe
I'll do it later.
Yeah, I'll do it later.
I'll do it next week.
I'll do it next week. I got time to watch Netflix tonight.
Yeah.
I got time to watch a Mel Gibson movie. I was just thinking about. I had a back thought. There's a Mel Gibson movie that was on Amazon Prime. I wanted to check out. Anyway, that's a total side rail. That's another resistance right there. I'm getting distracted,
dude. Take your own damn advice. No, man. No, it happens, dude. I'm pretty sure I have undiagnosed ADD. But
Me too.
But the thing that's funny, not to derail here, but is I feel like a lot of artists and a lot of creatives tend to have ADD. Is that something you heard of before? I've literally, like, I heard of something like, oh, a lot of creatives will have ADD.
I think definitely. I'm just trying to center you up in front of the camera. See how you're a little off?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Go to your
Hold
left.
on. There we go.
Yeah.
We're still trying to figure this out.
A little more to your left. A little more to your left. See, give yourself space to make it seem like you're facing me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
We thank you, everybody, for your patience.
Yes, we do.
And lower it a bit, too, so it's not covering your face. There you go.
All right. There we go.
There you go. Good boy.
What am I, a dog?
What did you ask me again?
Are you done shitting on me?
You asked me, what was the question? What did you say?
Oh, yeah. Do you think that, I mean, I've heard that a lot of creatives tend to have ADD.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, creatives with ADD. Yeah, I think that's certainly a real thing. And because I see it with other creatives, and I don't know if it's like they're too focused on themselves and their craft and their whatever it is they're trying to do, or if it comes down to, I don't know, maybe there is some kind of trade-off where if you're more of a creative person, you kind of lack other abilities cognitively, whether that be attention or...
For me, it's math.
Math, yeah. I was never good at math.
I was never good at math.
Never. I know. It's just because we can't think like that. I think there's some validity to that, where it's like you can be really good at something, but because you think in a certain way, you can't think in like other areas of how to do things. Like, trying to think of a better example. Like, I don't know. I guess with math, let's talk with math, or like engineering, like highly respected fields, but you and I, we don't have the minds like that.
We're not left-minded.
No, we can engineer like certain elements of the things we do, but it's either visual. For me, it's visual. For you, it's pretty sonic. You know, you can actually sense it, not as opposed to like going off of like a periodic table. Right. And it's like this number of neutrons does this. Like I can't think like that, you know?
I can't either.
Yeah.
I don't look at life in algorithms. Mm-hmm. You know, life is not a math equation to me. Life is like, okay, I'm going to imagine that that refrigerator is a mushroom. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. You and I are creatives. That's how it is.
Yeah. I think with the ADD, the undiagnosed ADD element to our nature, I think there's a bit of a psychotic element to our nature too. Yeah. I just think you and I are crazy. I know that.
We're insane.
We're
dude.
insane.
That's why we're entrepreneurs.
Oh yeah. And I think like but I do also see like other people that like us that they are a little psychotic, whether it's they're hyper narrow-minded. You know, you use your analogy of the German Shepherd mentality, the German Shepherd view, or it's that they're self-centered, which can be a good and a bad thing, or they may just lack common sense. I think you lack some common sense, but so do I. So,
what do you mean by that?
I don't remember like.
See, this is Exhibit A. You are insane.
No, remember on Sunday, like after church, like you were gonna go get brunch with your parents, and I was gonna get lunch with my dad, and and I just go like I'm like, what did I think I said something like, oh, do you want to get coffee?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not having lunch with them until later, but I'm gonna get coffee. I was like, do you want to get coffee? And you were like, yeah. But then you said you were getting lunch with your mom and your dad. And I was like, oh, okay, never mind then. And then you were like, oh, but we can grab a cup before then. And then we go out of our way to get coffee, and then you say we go in there, you get your coffee, and you go out the door, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, I pull up a seat. And I'm looking at you and your brother at the window, like, what are you doing? Get in here.
What are you doing?
Get in here. And you come in, and you're like, oh, I thought we were just going to go grab a cup and leave. and I'm like, why would we go out of our way to buy coffee if you were going to go anyway? Look, I'm not bashing you for that. I'm not critiquing. I don't give a shit. It's a freaking cup of coffee. I don't care. Like, you do what you got to do. I just thought that was a funny Giancarlo moment, you know?
Dude, we always have those. Dude, you and I are like cerebral.
Yes.
Like,
we're cerebral, but we're stupid.
But I think we got our shit together at the same time.
I'm being funny. I'm not trying to harden ourselves.
No. This
is also our humor too. We're hyper
we
self-deprecating
joke all the time.
Yeah, we're hyper self-deprecating. We shit on each other. We shit on ourselves, more importantly.
Dude, if you can't shit on yourself and make fun of yourself, like you're being too stiff in life. You know what I mean?
I think people too, like, I go about this sort of self-deprecating humor to other people, even like people that I don't quite know. I mean, I do it in a controlled way. Like,
Yeah.
give it a recent example just to give the listener an idea of kind of like what I'm talking about. Like, I'm at the gym today. I tried throwing my water bottle in my bag. I completely missed. And there's a girl that I kind of knew. She was sitting there and on the machine or whatever. And I say, I'm like, oh, would you be surprised if I said I wasn't good at baseball? You know, like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, I make fun of myself.
Yeah.
Whether it's I know you really well or I don't. There's different tiers to it. But I forgot where I
You
was
just
going.
shatter the ice with everybody.
I love to shatter the ice. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean,
That's who you are.
I think breaking the ice is important if you're meeting with, if you, like, say in business, if you're meeting with somebody that you don't really know too well, or you want to size them up for how their humor is. And I guess it depends on what you got to read the room, of course, but
You definitely don't do that. I'm just playing.
I don't read the room sometimes. Sometimes in certain social settings, I may read the room and be like, I don't care what the vibe is right now. I'm gonna create my own vibe. I'm gonna destroy this.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah. But if there is obviously in business though, like I will always go off of the energy that the other person is giving me.
Right.
If they're calm and they're at like a level 2 in terms of volume, I will be there and I will just listen. I mean, I do that regardless, so I'm always just listening.
Right.
But if the person's like at a freaking 10 energy,
You hit them with the 10.
you hit them with the 10, and then I'll let them just keep going until they can't, and they can't shut up, and until they're like crash and burn,
Until they pass out in the
until
hammer.
they pass out, then that's when I'll come in. But then I'll come in with my energy,
Right.
And you could say I'm just reacting, which I am, but you always say this, like in sales, you need to be able to read
Mirror
the room,
match.
and you need to mirror match. So anyway,
Yeah. Why do I already feel drunk?
you idiot.
I'm not drunk at all.
I know you're not. You just had a rough day. That's fine though.
Yeah.
It's totally fine. So yeah, attention, I think for us is a big problem. Like we said, procrastination, distraction, doubt is definitely a big thing.
Yeah. A lot of people deal with that. It's like I feel like, again, we're all very candid. Mark and I are very candid on this show. Like, this is also reflective of a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs that are like this too.
Yeah.
Well,
and people in general too.
People in general.
People in general. I mean, it's human nature to be lazy and complacent, because I think there's something in look, I'm not a scientist, so I can't, and I don't have any evidence in front of me to say this, but this is how I imagine the evolution of human beings was, where like when we were hunter-gatherers hundreds of thousands of years ago, million years ago, it was in our sort of nature, our drive, I guess you would say, it's like we've got to get the food, we got to get the shelter, we got to survive, we got to run away from these freaking mammoths and these giant vultures, like we got to get away from, we got to thrive here. We got to not only survive, we got to thrive. And that was hard, and many died doing it. Many starved, many got diseases, many were eaten by saber-toothed cats. But those that did and were able to make, their shelter, get plenty of food, that was sought after, because that meant, like I said, survival, and it meant the reproduction. It meant that you were going to carry on your name and technically be immortal, I guess you could say, that you were going to pass on your bloodline. So where I'm going with that is that comfort is desired. It's in our nature to want that because I guess our DNA still thinks that we are in that kind of environment where we need to be constantly looking for food and good shelter, a good place to lay our head, and just out of danger and looking for sex too, So I think that's still in it. That's still in our nature. That's my little tangent as far as maybe how I think we are as human beings. Like that's my reasoning for, I guess, like why we have this sort of lazy, complacent nature.
Primal scream.
Primal scream.
Primal
baby.
scream and shout. Man.
Well, another rock and roll reference for you.
It's my favorite Crew song.
I love that song a lot. Molly Crew, Primal Scream. It's one of my favorites. It's one of their underrated songs.
Yeah.
What do you think of that? Do you agree with that statement?
It's super underrated. Like,
no, not the song.
Oh.
The what I just said.
Dude, any chance I get to talk about music, I'll do it. But no, I agree. Like, dude, we're mammals. You know what I mean? Like, we're gonna have those instincts. Like, we're gonna always want to do. We're always gonna want to take the least path of resistance. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's who we are as people.
Yeah.
But the whole point of what we're talking about, though, is combating that.
Yeah.
Being disciplined. Discipline is super important to have as an entrepreneur because it can make or break you. Mm-hmm. Discipline goes hand in hand with taking a risk. Like, you want to take calculated risks. You don't want to do anything that is, you don't want to be an idiot. You want to be methodical, like you and I were saying. You want to have not everything figured out, but you want to have a good plan of attack for your business, for your mindset, just what you're going to do during the day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a good mindset to get in.
It's something that I've struggled with. Like we started at the beginning of the show when I was saying the past couple weeks especially, I was having some trouble with resistance. And for me, I mean, you need to be hyper self-aware, and that's what I was trying to be this morning. I was writing in my journaling. I'm like, okay, where in my work do I feel the most resistance? I actually have my notebook here. Let's check it out.
Yeah.
So sorry, I'm just
do you feel resistance at the end though? Because going back to the Pressfield book, do you feel resistance when you're right at, like, the finish line is in sight?
Honestly, no. Honestly, I don't. That's when when I'm on my most creative high, I think, and on my streak, because now I'm kind of like, oh, I see this, like, I can see the end. I'm just, and there's not much at that point that I have to do, really. And I've already been on such a buzz doing all the work that I got some energy left in the tank. And I'm that kind of person where, like, when the project's done, I still have that energy in me to just, like, want to keep watching it. And I'll start like, I may even, this may be a problem. I don't think it is, but to an extent it may be, where I'll be like, this isn't right. I need to go back and fix this. And, but I'll be watching it again and again because my finished videos, because I'm still on that creative buzz as if I were still working. It's not too much because, I mean, there's a part of it where I'm kind of just like, oh yeah, I just want to watch this finished finally.
Right.
But a part of it is because I'm still on that working buzz of, like, I've just been working hard. That's for quite a while. Now I'm ready to, now it's like, I'm still in that work mode mindset. So I'm just like, I mean, am I making sense? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting though. But that's kind of cool because a lot of people experience that real bout of resistance right when victory is in sight.
Yeah.
It's going back to the whole, but that's good in your case though.
Yeah. I mean, for me, like, I wrote it out. For me, the resistance is honestly in the beginning.
Getting started, that's another place.
Getting started, writing ideas and concepts. So that is so hard. That's where one spot for any project that I'm doing, whether that be a client project or creative, passion pursuit of my own that I'm trying to do, where I face resistance because it's a pretty abstract step.
Yeah.
It almost doesn't feel like work either, because you're kind of just like, oh, I'm just writing down thoughts in my head. Like, that doesn't seem like work. Like, So writing ideas and concepts, usually like the step one. Something in particular, if I'm editing interviews for a project, that's a lot of where I face resistance.
Editing?
And, yeah.
I can imagine that'd feel redundant.
Yes. Particularly interviews. Like, I've been doing a lot of interview content lately. In the past few weeks, actually, ironically, I said, like, that's probably why I was feeling resistance, because that's really all I was doing. And there's something in my case, like, because, if you shoot an interview with somebody for like a full hour and you need to get that down to like a few minutes and getting the sound bites and everything and cutting out the ums and the ums and,
right.
out of what the people say. And it's also hard because you got to figure out, like, okay, well, what's the point of this video here? What's the point of this project? And this person has said so much in this interview. How do I cut this down into, the right sound bites? Mm-hmm. That's a big thing, and it's something I especially faced in the past few weeks. Like we said, just general distractions, people in the house or externally, what have you, texting me on the phone, social media, the web, web streaming. Like I said, nice weather outside. Working on, I wrote this down too. Working on a project that I'm not too craved about. Like, I'm happy to do all the work that I'm doing, but maybe summer I'm like,
you're not super excited for it.
Yeah, I'm not like in love with it, which it could be also a conglomerate to this other thing I wrote down, which is not envisioning the final end product from the beginning, which I think that is the root of it. If I can't envision the project, at least have an idea, a solid idea of what it'll look like in the end, then the video, like, I can see like the beginning, middle, and end. I can see like what the character is going through, or like what visuals am I going to see, what transitions will be where, how the music is going to go. If I can't see that from the beginning, I realized this recently, this is a big problem, because that sets me up for resistance, because you're kind of just running around with a chicken with his head cut off, and not, if you can't see that, if you can't envision it, then you're kind of just in the middle of working. It's like, where do we go? Like, where am I going with this? Like, I don't know, like, what to do with these interview sound bites, because I don't know what the story is here. And that's something I'm realizing, like, I really got to work on this. Next time I do a project, I need to be able to envision the final product from the get-go.
Right.
It's kind of like that, again, back to that Gary Vee quote. It's like, ideas are shit, just execute.
It's like, what are you executing?
This is a prime example of that, because if I don't have the idea in my head clearly, then I'm not going to execute well. Yeah. And I think this is a case for a lot of people. It's probably true for you too with music. Which I'll let you take the reins on in a second, talk about.
Yeah.
So it's important to know just what the hell are you doing, I think.
Yeah.
In any project, and also just, being able to take control over it from the get-go. So that way the flow will be better as you progress, I suppose. So I think me recognizing that, and now that I see that, now that I can implement that going forward, I think I will have a better handle on my resistance, because, like I said, everything else stems from that one problem. It's not knowing how I am seeing the end product, because then that's when I go like, okay, I don't know where to begin with this editing here. I don't know, because I don't know what the story really is or like what the vibe is. And then that's when I'm like, okay, maybe I'll check my phone. Maybe I'll check social media. Maybe I'll do this. Oh, it's nice out. I'm going to go for a walk.
That's when you get bored. It's when you get,
right.
It's when you don't feel inspired in your at that moment during that project. You know what I mean? At least that's what happens for me. When I lose motivation, this is important to point out. I notice that when I lose motivation, that's when resistance kicks in. If I'm not excited about something, if I'm not passionate about something, that resistance creeps its way right in.
Yeah.
But going back to what you were saying about the end goal, like in terms of a song, like when I write a song, I'll have a certain idea of what I want it to sound like in the final mix. But it can be super tough to get it like that because, of course, you have, other people's opinions and, like let's say like for example, like my brother, if he was in the studio, he'd be like, oh no, maybe we should do it that way. And I'll think like, no, dude, like maybe we should do it this way. Or, our producer, Matt, it always ends up great in the end. Yeah. Like, it always ends up, we always come to a great compromise, I guess, if that makes any sense in the end. But if one, the producer will be like, oh, maybe you guys should do it this way. But I'll think in my mind, it's like, oh, should I do it this way? No, I want to go this route. There's a lot of stuff that can throw you off, from how you initially want to plan something out. But then again, at the same time, like that, I guess we're sort of searching for perfection.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. So for you, it sounds like the resistance is more external, right? Communicating with other people, right? Like getting the outside opinions, and then you have to sort of, I don't want to say debate, but you're kind of going back and forth with those, right? Would you say that is where the resistance comes in?
Yeah, I mean it's not debate. It's more of just like, some guys just walked in.
Oh yeah.
What's up, guys? What's up, guys? I can't remember where I was just going with this.
No, you were talking about when you feel resistance,
right?
When you're in the middle of your work.
I feel resistance when it feels like a chore, if that makes any sense. Like the second where it doesn't become fun. I'm talking in terms of like in terms of music here. When I feel like I'm writing something for the sake of writing it, that's when it becomes just not fun and very uninspirational and very demotivating.
I think for anybody that would be a huge part of where resistance comes in, because that's certainly where I get resistance is. Because in the things I just listed out that I just mentioned to you, those are all cases when I'm not feeling motivated. I'm not, like I said, enjoying it. But I think an important thing, too, though, is being able to... There's a difference between maybe not, having that initial idea, the concrete ideas, plans for your work, and... Excuse me. Sorry. And just general motivation. I think motivation itself is pretty hollow. I think you could say, it's important to enjoy the work that you're doing, obviously, but there may be days where you still maybe are not feeling motivated.
Yeah.
And it's important to work regardless of that motivation. And
you have to power through.
Yeah. And like you said, resistance in and of itself is unavoidable. Like, it's like, in the sense of like, the difference is, will you succumb to it or not? You can't prevent it from just appearing. It's always going to appear there. It's a matter of how you maneuver it, deal with it. So
it's not about how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
Yes, Rocky.
Like that's why I love that quote, because it's so applicable to resistance. you know, yeah, I mean, you know, when things feel redundant, it's very easy to be like, oh, I don't want to work. I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
What's on Netflix? Let's go for a walk.
Bro, that's been me lately. That's been me lately, and I'm not ashamed to say it because I think it's important for people to hear.
Well, we're human.
You know, that's the thing I kind of feel like talking about now that we bring this up, is that when you follow all these entrepreneurs on Instagram or just social media in general, you know, they'll post and share about all the positive kind of, you know, how they're not just like, for one thing, there is a whole other thing we could talk about, how they are enjoying themselves and living on the beach and whatnot. But I'm talking even just in work, like how they're crushing it. It's like, yeah, I got up at 4 a.m. this morning and I hit the gym. Now I'm going to work for 10 hours straight on this project, what have you. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But
I hate that personally.
But, well, good for them for doing it, but they don't share with you they don't even post about the negatives, and that they don't tell you about how they didn't feel like getting up out of bed. They didn't tell you about how so many distractions came up and how they had to step out of the way to get this done, or how, like, I don't know, even just little shit like a pipe burst in their office, and how they needed to, maybe they were feeling tired and they couldn't work as strong as they could. Because I have a very hard time believing that those people don't face those same challenges that we're talking about.
Of course they do. And that's why I said what I mean by I hate that is I hate how it's just so cookie cutter. Mm-hmm. And honestly, dude, that's the thing I really just dislike about social media in general today. Like, of course, it's a tool that it's inevitable. You and I have to use it in order to, you know, market ourselves and interact. And it's an excellent tool, but dude, name me somebody or name me like the last time you saw somebody on an account post about those things, like, oh, the pipe broke or something. Like, dude, every time I go through somebody's Instagram account, doesn't matter who it is, 9 times out of 10, it's like, oh, I got a new car, or I'm going on vacation, or I'm so successful with this. It's like, okay, well, that's great.
I'm crushing it every day doing this, and everything's going so well. I'm just, you know, I'm working this project here, doing this there, doing this there.
It's like
and
nobody
nothing's
gives a
coming
shit.
Up, and nothing.
Yeah.
Well, it's not only that. It's not just that nobody gives a shit. Certainly, that's the bottom line thing. But it's like they're not talking about the challenges that they're facing. It all for them just seems so seamless.
It's fake.
And I think people like us, we look at those people and it's like, wow, it almost seems so easy for them. It's like nothing's really. They're not talking about, like I said, they're not talking about the things we're talking about, of how these everyday challenges come up, or how it's like, what if there's one day where you just don't feel like working? Because that happens. It doesn't. It's not a testament on on your own work ethic. It's just I was saying earlier with my analogy of our human evolution. It's just an example, a symptom of our human condition. And like I said, they're not talking about those things. They're not sharing that or putting that up there.
Yeah.
And I think people, when they see that or they don't see that, they start looking at themselves and their own flaws, and they think that they are less than that person or unworthy of achieving the things that they have.
Yeah. There are exceptions, though, of course, like with anything. But you know who I love on social media? And I really dislike social media just as a whole. I got to step up my social media game. But, dude, I love Joe Rogan on social media. And the reason why I say that is when you see, you know how he posts that shit about, like, how he'll be like, oh, I just hit the bag workout today, and I just got out of the sun. I conquered my inner bitch.
Yeah.
But at the same time, in those types of posts, they'll be like, yeah, today was hard.
Yeah.
Or like, I really didn't want to do this.
Yeah, I like that.
You know what I mean? I what I love and really just appreciate are those people that are just candid and are able to be like, okay, well, you know, today was tough. I got to say, you are excellent at that on social media. You'll be like, okay, well, I did this today. I'll be going through one of your stories and you'll be like, well, I did this today, but I lacked in this.
Yeah.
And it's relatable because it's not painting this picture of perfectionism because inherently human beings were not perfect. But I think that's sort of the problem with social media nowadays is that everyone wants to portray again, you know, it's the age old discussion. Like everybody constantly wants to just highlight all the perfect reels in their life and just talk about, oh, I got the promotion. Oh, I got, you know, the car. Oh, I got this. That's great. But at the same time, look, nobody gives a shit how hard you work. You know what I mean? If anything, that's what I've learned firsthand. Like nobody gives it. You can work so hard and nobody gives a shit.
I think you're right. I think there is some validity to that because now that I think of it, all the work that I've done, I think you're right. I think people just care about the end product, at least from a client or viewer / listener perspective. I'm just trying to like throw in any potential person that may be consuming our product, so to speak.
Right.
You know, for me, it'd be a viewer / client. For you, it'd be a listener of your music.
Yeah.
Yeah. They just care more about the end product, and you know, does it look good? Does it sound good? Is it of good quality?
Yeah.
And maybe was it delivered on a good time for us?
Right.
And I think that's more important. I think it doesn't matter at the end of the day, like how many hours that day on a given day you worked at that project. It's more about just the end delivery. Was that worth it? I think.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Like that guy, Chris Do, who I really like, he's, there's a lot of self-help business people that I don't like, but he's one that I really like because he's speaking of good, I think, he has content, you know, of like context within his content, if that makes sense.
Yes.
He's not speaking, his things aren't hollow. He's speaking like real business advice. There's substance. So anyway, he said this whole thing, like he does like mentoring and coaching, and one of I think it was like I don't know if it was like a musician that was talking to him or a designer, and this guy that he was mentoring was basically like glorifying the idea of working months, endless nights on a project, and Chris was basically just like, why does that matter to you? He's like, let me ask you something. If I could do that project in 6 hours, and it'd be the same exact result, what would you rather do? Do you want what took you like 6 hours or 6 months? And again, same result, same end product.
Yeah.
And the kid was like, oh, 6 months because you put all the time and effort into it, your blood, sweat, and tears. And he just nailed it. He's like, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. I care about getting the job done.
Where's the money?
Yeah. And I think that's how, to go back to your point of like, you know, people don't really care how hard you worked on something. They just care about the end product, I think. Sure, there's, I guess, glory in the hard work, and it improves you as a human being. And, you know, the harder workers, I guess, will excel as opposed to those that have their hands in the pocket and are, you know, just not committing the time, that are being complacent, for sure.
Yeah.
But I think we should also distinguish too, like what we mean when people say they don't care like how hard you work. Like,
yeah,
because we work hard regardless, but like they don't, like you said, they don't care if you, like I said, if you stayed up till 2 a.m. working on this, or
right.
Is that kind of what you're trying to say?
Yeah, I'm just trying to. Yeah, I mean, what's funny though too is that at the same time, we were talking before about how nobody highlights the difficulties on their social media.
Yeah.
I think for you and me personally, just as an observation, you and I do like to see.
I love to see that
You and
stuff.
I do love to see how people struggle. You and I guess, to kind of play devil's advocate for a second about what we were just talking about, you and I kind of give a shit in a sense of like seeing how somebody struggled to get where they got to.
I like that.
You know what I mean? Again, it's important to compartmentalize. I'll just use this. I love this story as an example because I just got to bring up my favorite band, Guns N' Roses, and just tie it to what we're talking about right now. Like, I read Slash's book, and the part of that book that stuck out the most to me was when they were coming up, when that band was coming up, and they had nothing. And the part of the book I'm talking about is he talks about their first tour, and they dubbed it the Hell Tour. Because they basically what happened is, okay, their bass player, Duff McKagan, had booked a tour all the way up to Seattle, and these guys were in Southern California. They had nothing. They had a roadie and a guy to drive a van. And the car broke down. And they broke down in like Bakersfield, California, and they had to get all the way up to Seattle. They literally had to like drive all the way up the West Coast. And they hitchhiked for 1,000 miles. To me personally, like, that is the best part of the story, and that is what I'm interested also at the same time. It's just like the come up. It's like, it's so cool to see somebody come from nothing or from a very difficult situation and then getting to that. Personally, I think that's cool. I guess what I mean by people don't give a shit in general is like when people complain like, oh, I worked so hard on this or I did this. It's like, dude, everybody's working hard. You know, everybody has a struggle. Everybody has a cross to bear.
Yeah.
I guess that's what I'm talking about. I mean, it's important to differentiate. I love to see how people take something really shitty and turn it into something great.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I guess I hate the self-loathing and like, oh, I have it so hard, or like, you know, dude, this is life.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's got it hard. Some people have it harder than others, of course.
Yeah.
But it's like, I hate when some people with an abundance of resources or means to get to success are just so self-loathing and are just like,
Yeah.
oh, you know, like, no, I worked so hard. I did this. I did that. We're all working hard here.
We're all in the trenches here. We're all struggling here, and
Yeah.
I love that story that you just said, and I like it even better too when those people, like I said, they continue to talk about that even in light of the success that they're enjoying.
Right.
You know, the fruits of the labor, so to speak. And they're still talking about the struggles that they face. Not complaining, but it's important, like I said, it's important to know that those struggles are still there.
Right.
In fact, maybe even more so. For instance, yeah, I can tell you about my struggles now about trying to run my own business right now, starting this off the ground. It's been, like I said, as far as money, it's been a year. Maybe a little less as far as making money goes. But as I progress in my career, you know, there will be other struggles such as, you know, maybe I want to get a studio, which is a big leap. And then comes the things of like, oh, I got to pay for the overhead here. What if the power goes out in this studio or something floods, you know, or, you know, having all this gear, got to get insurance for that. Oh, this broke. This needs to be replaced. Got to hire this shooter to, because I need more shooters for this. He canceled or he did a bad job. Having to manage people, manage your data, all the data you have on the hard drive, having to deal with difficult clients. So far, I haven't had, I guess, a difficult client yet.
All that can happen. And all that shit will most likely happen for you and for me.
And for you.
You know, you got to be, like I said it was like the first or second episode, like you got to be, I think it was the first one, you got to be prepared to lose everything tenfold.
Yep.
And risk it all and hitchhike that 1,000 miles and then come back. You know what I mean? business is sporadic, man.
Mm-hmm.
And sure, you know, we're still early on and we're still just, you know, learning that firsthand.
Yeah.
But I think in different ways, you and I have sort of realized that it is sporadic and you do have to be prepared for anything.
Yeah.
Because anything can happen. I think people in general realize that, especially with, look what happened in 2020. We didn't know what the hell was going to happen with this pandemic. We didn't, if you said in 2018 or 2019, end of 2019, like, okay, everybody's going to be shut up. There's going to be all these lockdowns. We're going to all wear masks. We're all going to be scared. We don't know what this is. Mm-hmm. Are we ever going to get back to normal? Mm-hmm. Nobody. If you were in 2018, if you were just going about your average life, nobody would have thought that.
Yeah.
Who would have thought that, you know, parts of business would have to be redone? Like, this pandemic changed everything, dude. Mm-hmm. It's changed the way people work. I mean, a lot of people are working remote now. Like,
a lot of resistance may come up there.
Yeah,
Working from home.
Exactly. But the point I'm trying to make is that, you know, you are going to experience all those things thrown at you. Again, going back to it's how you deal with it. It's how we adapt. You
Mm-hmm.
and I are trying to adapt to a post-COVID world.
Yeah. I think when tying this back into the resistance topic, I think when resistance comes up, it's important for us to not, like I said, Stephen Pressfield in War of Art, he writes about it as like this evil force that needs to be defeated. I think that's a good kind of motivating tool, but I think a more practical approach is kind of like what you're talking about is see how you can work around it, work with it almost.
Right.
Figure out what parts of the day you're most productive. You have your most energy. Mm-hmm. Some people are more productive earlier in the day, some midday, some late at night. You know, night owls.
I'm a night owl.
You're a night owl, yeah.
What are you?
I'm definitely an early bird.
Really?
100%. I, without my alarm, I would usually probably wake up around 7:30, but I wake myself up around 6:30. Mm-hmm. I go to the gym. Technically, I don't usually start working on my projects till when I get back from the gym, like around noontime. I do want to eventually get into a rhythm, though, where I start my working day around 7 a.m., mm-hmm. and then just work until maybe like 12 or 1, go to the gym, come back home around like 3-ish, you know, mid-afternoon, and then do a little, I guess you could say, trivial work, emails, sending out invoices, bills, contracts, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And afterwards into the evening, then I devote that time to either reading or writing, spending time with family, eating dinner, you know, and then maybe just chilling, watching Netflix or something. Mm-hmm. Go to bed at a reasonable time, like 10:30.
You're not doing that tonight.
Not tonight. What time is it now?
It's like it's just before 9:30.
Yeah, but that is more or less my internal clock pattern. Is I go to bed around 10:30, wake up around 6:30. Always get my 8 hours. Always.
Yeah, you have to, man.
I think that's something that needs to be said a lot more. Get your 8 hours of sleep.
And dude, I would have never thought that because, dude, you know me, I'm an adrenaline junkie.
Yeah. Well, even it's okay for you to, like you said, if you want to work those late hours, you can, but just make sure you're getting that good sleep. If you want to work till 3 a.m., fine, but don't wake up till like 11. Or if you do, then make sure you take a good nap later in the day, you know?
Yeah. Excuse me. No, totally.
Go take a nap now.
Yeah, no, I need to sleep well tonight. Yeah. It's been whatever. But, yeah. I don't know, dude. I love being up at night. There's just something about it's cool.
Do you feel, with that said, so you feel more productive at nighttime? Do you feel less resistance, possibly? Less distractions?
Yeah. Yes.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I think it's because it's not a normal time for somebody to be. I'm weird like that. It's like I see everybody doing something, I want to do the opposite. You know what I mean? That's my biggest like like fear that's not irrational fear, right?
Yeah.
I have a very strange irrational fear, and you might know this, and I think you are kind of like this a little bit, is I don't want to be like everybody else. Like my irrational fear is being like everybody else.
Mm-hmm. I fear that.
You know what I mean? Some people have an irrational fear of like spiders, or some people are afraid of dogs, or some people are, for me, it's like, I don't want to be normal. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? There are exceptions, of course. Like, obviously I'm just like everybody else. I'm a regular guy like everybody else, but in certain respects, it's like, okay, I don't want to, I'm afraid of that. Mm-hmm. But anyway, going back to what you were saying, I guess it's like, it's that, and it's also like, I don't know. I always loved just staying up late and breaking the rules. Like, you know what I mean? Like, growing up, I guess it might stem from like, my parents are always very strict. Like, okay, go to bed at 8 o'clock. And, I don't know. Also, when I'm at night, it's like, okay, I've gone through my day. I'm able to, take care of the stuff that I have to for like my job and stuff. But when I'm at night, it's like, okay, then I have these ideas. It's like, I'll always have music on too towards the end of the day. So maybe that has something to do with it. Like, I'm inspired. I'll be driving home. I'll be listening to music. I'll be at home. If I'm like cooking dinner or something, I'll be listening to music. So maybe that actually, I'm kind of realizing this myself right now, is like, maybe I'm in a more of a creative mindset, seeing as I'm still sort of at that 9 to 5 kind of thing. And I'm able to, okay, it's like when I wake up in the morning, it's like, okay, I got to get to work. I got shit to do. But towards the end of the day, it's like, okay, well, now I'm done with the work day. Now I can focus on time to create and time to, gather my thoughts, and time to reflect, and time to strategize for what I want to do up the pipeline. So I'm sort of just all thinking and realizing this aloud, but maybe that's what it has to do with that, It makes sense. A combination of all of that.
That makes sense. I was listening to an interview with a screenwriter by the name of John Fusco, was his name. And he was saying how he gets up at like 4 a.m. and he starts writing at that time. Because I didn't say this, like I said, I don't want to come off the show as like I'm a scientist, whatever. But he said he writes it early at that time because when you are in, I guess, the traditional hours of sleep, so like that early morning, like 4 a.m. before sunrise, and, in your case, around that like after midnight, you're still in your kind of dreamlike state in your mind where like your right hemisphere of your brain is highly active. Mm-hmm. And that's ideally your most creative peak in the day.
I do have a lot of crazy dreams now that I think about it.
So that's probably it. That's probably part of the reason why it works for you, if that is true. And yeah, same thing. You get up like really early and you start like writing those things or whatever. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Definitely makes sense.
Some people are just wired differently.
For sure. For me, I guess I just follow the sun. That's just my pattern. I mean, I as a kid, growing up, my bedroom was always, the window faced east. So that meant early in the morning, whether it was, what would that be like? Depending on if you were in daylight savings time or not, it would be like 6 a.m., maybe even 5:30 a.m. And I was just naturally an early bird. That's when I get up. Even to this day, it doesn't matter. If I go to bed at 3 a.m., I will wake up no later than 8:30.
I do at the same time to kind of take your side. I do love waking up early sometimes.
It's the best. For me, I go stir crazy if I wake up late. I'm like, I've missed up on all the parts of my day. Yeah.
I'm like that too, especially on the weekends. It's like I have to get up early anyway for my job. I'm just saying though, like when I'm able to stay up late, I love doing it. Yeah. I feel like most creative musically.
Yeah.
just, business wise ideas.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. I'm a weirdo.
I used to have that kind of energy where I would be like in the mood to, create, work, whatever, do kind of cool little projects late at night. And I guess I kind of lost that.
Well, dude, our people change too. Like, we could be total opposites down the line. You know what I mean? We could be sort of a cross between the two.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we're always changing.
I think age has a lot to do with it too. You're a kid, it's a lot easier to pull all-nighters.
Yeah.
Like your brother, for instance. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, he's up till like 5 a.m.
He's in that owl too. Him and I are very similar in that regard.
Wait till he's 30. I mean,
yeah.
Will he still be doing that? Maybe he will.
Maybe he will. Some people are just, again, wired like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I also drink a lot of coffee. I love coffee, dude.
Yeah. I've been limiting my caffeine. I actually, last year, again, I'm kind of derailing off the topic, but this might be helpful for a lot of you people that drink coffee that are listening. So I have a really bad problem, and this is a problem that I've had in this past week where I'll have nights every now and then where I wake up in the middle of the night, even though eating right, exercising, I'll even put the blue screens away, the phone, the computer, the TV. I'll put that away for half hour to an hour before bed. I'll do all the right things to make sure I get a good night's sleep. And regardless, I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'm up for 2 hours. And I can't go back to sleep.
Insomnia?
I think it's insomnia. I think it is. And
do you feel creative during those times?
No, I'm tired. I want to go back to bed. I'm just but like, I'm trying to go back to sleep, but I can't. And
that sucks.
But if I tried getting up to do something, at the same time, I wouldn't have the energy to do it. And
so it's sort of like between like wanting to go to bed and get rest.
I want to go to bed and get rest, but my body for some reason is like, no, you're up. And I'm like, no, it's 2 a.m.
Maybe that's your creative mind kicking it in. I don't know. Again, I could be totally wrong, but how you were saying before, like, when you're dreaming during those early hours, maybe it's...
I don't know, though, because it's like, it's right in the middle of the night, and it's...
Okay.
And back to resistance, it prevents me from getting those things done that I want to do during the day, because without a good night's sleep, I can't work as efficiently. You can call me high maintenance, but sleep is so important.
Oh, totally.
It needs to be, in our society, we need to stop reprimanding or stigmatizing long sleep.
Yes.
You need it for your health.
You need it.
It's arguably more important than good diet and exercise.
Drinking water.
Arguably. If you're not, if you're not, you could be exercising 5-6 times a week and eating all the right food. If you're not giving your body the proper sleep, that's all null and void.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. So, anyway, where was I going with that? I have no idea.
Go to sleep at a decent hour. Eat your vegetables.
Yeah.
This is a wellness show now.
Well, it's important for people to hear, because I think you have all these hucksters, all this we talked about before, the hustle culture people. They're all just talking about the hard work and all that stuff, and how you got to work hard and put the out. Sure, there may be some times where you may have to put an extra stretch in at work and work later hours and sacrifice a nice dinner or whatever like that. And you may just have to eat ramen noodles or something like that.
Yeah.
You may have those nights and whatever to get the work done, sure. But at the end of the day, overall, taking care of your body and having a good work-life balance needs to be talked about.
Absolutely.
And I think it's great that you and I are using this platform to talk about those things, because
of course
somebody's got to talk about it.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And I don't care if it's only 10 people listening to this. Maybe if it's one person listening.
Yep.
it's got to be, or if nobody's listening, but it's got to be said.
It has to be said. No, you gotta. No, I'm just joking with the whole like, it's a wellness shit. But what we are talking about is, it is wellness if you think about it. Like in terms of, we're talking about entrepreneurship, but if you want to be a functioning entrepreneur or a musician, a videographer, like you got to do these things. These things all come hand in hand. And no, you're right on the money, dude. That's awesome.
Can you be creative, or better yet, can you work efficiently? Give an example. Maybe, let's say you're in the studio. Maybe you didn't get a good night's sleep for whatever reason. And maybe let's throw in some other shit. Maybe you got into an argument with your parents, or
somebody.
Maybe you're stressing out because you had a horrible week at your job, during the week. You come in Saturday, you're supposed to record you have the studio from 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. Mm-hmm. So 10 a.m. That morning, and then 2 a.m. of that night, basically the middle of the night. How do you think you'll perform? Like, do you think you would get a lot of resistance given all those factors they said? And I know I'm throwing a lot at you.
Yeah, no. I get it. I get exactly what you're talking about. To be honest with you, the exact opposite. Not really at all, to be honest with you. Because when I go in the studio, for me, that's my escape. Like, that's where I can just, like, forget about everything and just do what I want.
Wow.
And just be creative. I love the studio. I wish I could be in the studio every single day. And that's why I want to build one. That's why I talk to you about building one all the time. I find I'm most productive and most creative in the studio. It never feels like a chore when I'm in there. I never feel like it's like, oh, I got to do this again. You know what I mean? It's like, for me, it's like I got enough shit that I got to deal with during the week and enough stuff to worry about, enough, responsibilities to deal with, and enough people to talk to the point where it's like, no. When I'm in the studio, I don't want to think about any of that shit. I don't want to think about what I'm doing for work. I don't want to think about anything besides me and what I'm creating. That's, to me, honestly, dude, it's therapeutic.
Wow. Now let me ask you this. I just thought of this when you were saying that. How about when you are doing a show, when you're doing live performance? Where does the resistance kick in at that point?
A live show, I guess, is a little different because it's like, you're being, I guess, scrutinized to put on a performance. Mm-hmm. You're before an audience, like, oh, don't mess this up. But I think in terms of resistance, for me at least, it kicks in
after, when you got to lug all the gear, probably.
Well, yeah, that. I mean, definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
Try carrying a Marshall cab. But that's a good question. I think for me, it kicks in at the beginning. It's like, oh. I think it's more of a nervous thing at the beginning. I'm always like, you always want a little bit of nerves at the beginning, though. I guess I don't experience resistance during a show. But if anything, I guess I could feel, and a lot of musicians will probably feel like this, a little nervous or just sort of reluctant, I guess. I'm not using the right word, but just sort of, in their shell, if you will, at the start. Right. By the end of the show, for me personally, by the end, I'm like, dude, I'm kicking ass. Like, the guitar is swung way down low. It could also be because I've had a few drinks in me. but no, it's, I guess, no, resistance, it's always before the first chord. It's always like, all right, do this the right way. Don't screw this up. And I think to a degree, every musician sort of needs that, those nerves. Because I think if you go into it just being like, I'm going to do the best, everybody's going to love me, that's when I think things go wrong. And it's like, okay, well, no, like, you're not hot shit. Like, you're still human. A guitar string can still break. You can still not hit the note. You kind of see what I'm saying?
Yeah, so are you saying the resistance before the show comes in as like a stage fright kind of thing, like of a fear?
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm saying. I don't know if I necessarily feel like resistance in the context of what we're talking about, but I guess I feel sort of like maybe I guess that the nerves translate to resistance. I don't know.
Well, I think the nerves part of it is like what it is, but how you're prone to handle that. Like, say, some may feel those nerves and they'd be like, oh, well, I'm not going to play the show. That's resistance right there. Or maybe, just kind of either walking away from it or avoiding it somehow. It's hard for me to say because it's not my world. So I can't really say for sure.
Yeah.
But
the show must go on.
Yeah. I guess for you, it sounds like, because you said earlier that the resistance kind of comes in when you're more or less, it's like an exterior kind of thing where you're talking with your producer, with your bandmates, or I imagine getting things mastered. To me, just from an outside perspective, mastering seems like a boring process. Like, is it?
The recording process is fun when you're in the studio, but in terms of just waiting for everything to be done and being like, okay, should we recut this? No, we're going to totally trash this. We need to totally do everything over in this section, or we should keep this, but now I think we should add this. It can be exhausting.
Yeah.
And I guess that can sort of facilitate resistance in the sense it's like, okay, well, is this ever going to get done? Like, how long is this going to take? It's like, okay, well, we're doing the same thing. But it always ends up working well in the end, which is what matters.
That's good.
And I think that's sort of inevitable in the process when you're writing a song and putting it out for people to listen to. Like, you're going to have to, it depends on the song. You know what I mean? There have been times I've written a song and we got it recorded quick. A few overdubs. That's it. There have been other times, like with this song that I'm about to put out, and it's like, okay, well, we should redo this. And we actually had to rework how I sang the lyrics, for example. But the point I'm trying to make, though, is that it worked in the end. It's all just part of the process, but you can feel resistance when you feel like confused if you're going to actually get to that destination that you want to.
Yeah. I suppose I see a pattern of when the things in your area get a little more technical and a little more detail oriented, right? Where that's where whether it be in form of procrastination or distraction or whatnot, that's where that kicks in, right?
Yeah.
Am I accurate?
Okay, some guy's speeding there. Sorry.
The mics aren't even going to hear it, so these people probably aren't going to be like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah. There's a car speeding.
Yeah, we are in the middle of Worcester. Like, we're literally in downtown. Like, outside, there are cars flying by, and
the hospital's right next door.
The police station is also right next door, and so there's
a lot of
ongoing
noises.
Traffic. But you guys can't hear it because these mics are wonderful.
I thought I just heard it though, like in the headphones.
Did you? Oh, maybe you did.
Yeah.
Because
well,
I'm not
on,
wearing mine because my ear was hurting. So.
Okay, gotcha.
But go on. Go on. What you were saying about resistance.
I totally was derailed there. I forgot exactly. But no. At the end of the day, like if it feels like a chore, I guess at the end of the day, if it feels like it's like it's too big of a task to complete.
Yeah.
I guess that's sort of the danger of having a perfectionist mentality.
Yeah.
And I know you and I are both perfectionists.
Mm-hmm.
Like, dude, I need everything to be perfect before I release something. Or if I, that's why I think I take so damn long sometimes.
I gotta be honest with you. Sometimes I feel like it's like, oh, this is a chore type of mentality. I feel like during like the simplest shit that can get done in a matter of 2 seconds. Yeah. Like if I need to just dump footage from a card to my hard drive, I'm like, I don't feel like doing it. Do we have to do this now? Can we do this later?
I'm gonna eat lunch first. I'm gonna go watch an episode of Family Guy.
Yeah, I'll just leave the card here on the table and I won't touch it.
You literally did that tonight. I had to pick up the card.
I did forget the card. I mean, aside from that, I'll be like, this doesn't need to be dumped right now. This doesn't need to be uploaded right now. I'll leave it here.
It's nice outside.
It's nice outside. I'll go for a walk. But
but you see, that's when it that's resistance. It kicks in. It's like right when it can be. I guess that is in a sense you sort of experiencing resistance right when you can. It's right within your grasp. You can do something so easily as to like dump something.
Yeah,
and it's like, nope. Resistance is like, nope. It's right there, but you're gonna take a break.
Yeah,
it's sort of. Dude, people are weird how they're wired and how they think. Like, we all do this. Human beings are weird, dude. It's like, I think that translates to, we experience that resistance because we think like, okay, we have all this time to do it. Why would we just do it right now?
Yeah. And
why would we not refine it? You know?
And let me tell you a big form of resistance that I haven't necessarily faced, but I think about. It enters more in my thoughts. So next year, it's a goal of mine. I want to create my own narrative film. I want to make my own. It'll probably be a short film.
Awesome.
That I want to do. You know, I did that while I was in college. So I'm going to do it like on my own.
I'm excited for that.
Again, now, resistance can come in forms of logic too, where it'd be like, you can't afford this right now. You can't afford to hire crew or hire talent right now. You got to continue saving up so you can buy gear and, you know, put some more money into your business, not to mention saving up for buying property and stuff. Those are all valid points for not doing something like that, you know?
Yeah.
That's pretty scary to think about. So being aware of that is key. Like, I think where I would draw the line is like, okay, maybe I don't need to go crazy, but I am doing this if I'll figure out a way. If I can't spend that much crazy money, I'm still going to do it. I'm not going to just give up just because I have to save up, like whatever. I think that's actually a big resisting factor for a lot of filmmakers that want to create something, but they don't because they don't have enough funds.
Yeah.
Or I shouldn't say they don't have enough, because that's not necessarily resistance. If you don't have the money to make a film like that, that's like, it's hard. You can't really do it.
Physically can't do it.
But for you to just say like, oh, like I can't sink this much in because I need to save up for a property that I don't know if I'm going to buy in 18 months. And then that's kind of an invalid reasoning behind it.
Yeah.
All for something that maybe it's like, maybe you don't need, like I said, maybe you don't need that much money. Maybe you can figure out a way to, I don't want to say cut corners, but like, I think you don't need, there's a guy I followed, Jacob Owens. He said, like, you don't need the craziest expensive gear to get things done.
You don't.
He goes, I started my video production business. I was making music videos on a Canon T3i. And look at him now. He's shooting with, you know, Red cameras or RLXs, whatever he uses, the Ursas. And he's hiring crew. He's got big budget, all this. Like, you know.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, I guess. When I think of guitar, it's sort of similar to a degree. I mean, obviously a Gibson is different, feels different from an Epiphone, but you can get it done with an Epiphone too.
Yeah. You could probably get it done with a Squier, right? Maybe not as much as maybe particularly with the things that you're doing, but you could certainly record like a good rock
yeah,
song.
of course you can. You can do anything. Like, look, to use an example here, like Eddie Van Halen was an insane. He was the greatest guitarist ever.
Mm-hmm.
He could pick up any guitar.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading this when he passed away. He could pick up a guitar. Somebody said he could pick up a guitar with any amp, any guitar amp configuration, and he could make it sound killer.
Love that.
And he was just that good.
Yeah.
And he was that good at his craft. If you're good, you just use tools that are conducive to what you're trying to do. Like another example, I guess kind of similar to what I'm trying to say. Mm-hmm. Like Kurt Cobain, he wasn't the greatest guitar player, but he used cheap like Fender Squiers and like cheap guitars and crappy equipment to get his point across. He wasn't a guitar hero. Kurt Cobain was a songwriter. He wrote songs about angst and, disillusionment and being jaded and stuff like that. He was a songwriter. He portrayed something. He used guitars to get his point across. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's not really gear that does it. No. It's all about like, but then again, it does pay to have some nice gear. You know what I mean? Like
definitely. There's certain things that you'll get out of that gear as opposed to the gear that you currently own.
Yeah. How you use it though.
It's how you use it. Like, especially with cameras, like they have really stepped up the game with cameras, and they have put so much work in and so much capabilities into cameras today, affordable for the common man.
Yeah.
And if the quality you're trying to get isn't there, it really at the end of the day is not a statement of the cameras anymore. It's a statement on you.
On you. Exactly.
Creator. And that's why when I look at mine, I'm like looking out for the quality like that. I'm like, oh, what did I do wrong? I never think what was wrong with the camera. I'm like, what did I do wrong with the camera here? So
yeah, why couldn't I play that lick or note or whatever? Why did I miss that note?
Yeah, it's like did you not like tune your strings right? And for me, it's like did I not set my ISO correctly, my ISO, and make sure my exposure was right. That sort of thing.
You can have a really nice Gibson Les Paul and an old Marshall Plexi, like all this vintage gear, and you could still sound like shit.
Oh yeah, you could have a red Komodo camera, you could have an Arri Alexa camera, but without proper lighting, without proper knowledge of just how to set basic exposure, you could have a crappy image that looks as if like you might as well have shot it on an iPhone.
That's what I would do.
Yeah.
I could have all the nice gear in that sense. And just average it, because I don't know what the hell I'm doing with film. But, if I, so it's, you know what I'm saying?
It's key.
Yeah. I need to go to sleep.
Where are we? Too. We're an hour and a half in, I think. Okay. I mean, we talked a little bit about resistance, so we went into other topics, but I think it's fine because, like I said, this show's all like an unfiltered kind of conversation. That's what we're trying to talk about. And resistance is a big topic that I think we're going to be talking about more and more as we go through this show. And
it'll be a reoccurring theme.
It'll be a reoccurring thing. And we can even, with guests on that we'll definitely be talking about with, because it's just, even regardless of entrepreneurship, it's a general thing that just, like I said, as human beings we encounter. So we'll definitely be talking about this more, and I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I hope you liked what we talked about, I guess. And
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Every show is a different dynamic.
It is.
I felt personally, dude, I feel a little fried right now.
Yeah, we're pretty burnt out right now.
Like just the whole time. But we did it. We pulled it together.
We pulled it together. We showed up. We combated resistance by showing up, and regardless of how we felt, we came in. So
it's testament. We succeeded.
There you go.
We took our own advice.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, dude. I'm excited, and that's it.
That's it.
So
I'm going to bed.
I'm talking gibberish right now. I need to go to sleep.
Yeah. All right. Well, good night, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Or good day, everybody, if you're listening to it in the morning that we posted. Just enjoy yourselves. Keep hustling. Keep doing what you do. Keep staying awesome.
Yep.
And
we'll hit you guys back the next time when we're more energized.
That's right.
When I don't feel like a tranquilized bear.
Like I said, thank you all for listening again. Stay tuned for the further episodes to come. Like I said, engage with us. Let us know how you're liking the podcast, how you're not liking it.
Yep.
Whether you're watching this on YouTube or listening on Spotify, what have you.
Yep.
Reach out to us. Tell us what you're thinking. We want to hear your honest feedback and let us know what you're seeing. And
yep. Let us know if we should drink more or drink less.
Yeah. This is probably a night where we should drink less, but it's one of those things. Yeah, so we want to engage with you and everything. So thank you all.
Thank you, guys.
Have a great evening. Have a whatever. Enjoy yourselves. Take care. I'm out. I got to go to bed.
Yeah.
Bye.
Me too. Peace.
Bye.